The awakening of divine clarity and purpose is not an instant event but a gradual unfolding that begins when a chosen one starts to sense that life is more than coincidence. It begins with a quiet stirring inside, a voice that questions the routines of the world and feels out of place in spaces that others seem perfectly content in. There is an internal tension, a pull between the person you once were and the one you are becoming, and though it feels confusing, it is the first step toward awakening. You start noticing how every setback had meaning, how every rejection carried protection, and how every time you were misunderstood, you were being redirected toward truth. The old layers of illusion start to peel away, revealing a deeper understanding of who you truly are and why you were placed here at this time. It is not about ego or superiority, it is about remembrance, remembering the light that was buried beneath the noise of the world. At first, this awakening feels heavy because it demands that you confront everything that isn't authentic. The universe begins to strip away false attachments, toxic connections, and old identities that no longer serve your higher calling. You might lose people you once thought were your forever, or find yourself detached from environments that used to bring comfort. This detachment is sacred because it clears space for divine clarity to enter. The more you release, the more you start to see with spiritual eyes. You realize that every battle you fought, every moment you questioned your worth, was building a foundation of strength that only the chosen ones can carry. The divine never wastes pain, it transforms it into purpose. As your awareness expands, you begin to see the patterns of the unseen hand guiding your path. You recall how certain delays protected you from harm, how certain endings opened new beginnings, and how certain betrayals were necessary to teach discernment. Your intuition becomes sharper, your dreams more symbolic, your heart more aligned with something eternal. The world may call it coincidence, but deep inside, you know it is divine orchestration. You were never walking alone, unseen forces were always working on your behalf. The signs increase: repeating numbers, dreams that manifest, conversations that feel like divine messages, all reminding you that you are being guided. The spiritual realm communicates through synchronicities to help you trust what your soul already knows. This clarity is not just about understanding your past, it's about awakening to your role in the present. You begin to feel a divine responsibility growing within you, the call to live with intention, to speak truth even when it's unpopular, to radiate light in a world that thrives on confusion. The chosen ones are not meant to blend in, they are meant to illuminate. Your pain becomes your testimony, your scars become sacred maps of survival, and your story becomes the evidence that light always overcomes darkness. This is the stage when you start realizing your voice has power. The things you've endured were not for destruction but for transformation, so that your life could serve as a beacon for others still lost in their own storms. In this awakening, divine purpose doesn't arrive in a single revelation, it unfolds piece by piece through moments of surrender. The more you align with truth, the clearer your vision becomes. You start to recognize that purpose is not found, it's remembered. It's been within you all along, waiting for the noise to quiet so it could be heard. The confusion that once surrounded you starts to lift as you step into alignment with your higher self. You realize that your calling isn't about doing something grand for recognition but about embodying the light consistently, authentically, and fearlessly in your daily life. The divine purpose of a chosen one is to bring healing, to awaken others, and to anchor love in places where it has been forgotten. The awakening brings sensitivity to energy, to truth, to injustice. You may find yourself unable to tolerate lies, manipulation, or superficiality anymore. You crave authenticity because your spirit can no longer coexist with anything false. The more your light expands, the more darkness tries to test your resolve, but these challenges only refine your strength. Divine clarity allows you to see beyond appearances, to discern energy, and to sense motives that words may hide. It gives you the courage to walk alone when needed, knowing that isolation is often a sign of elevation. The loneliness you once resented becomes sacred time for recalibration, for communion with the divine, and for understanding your role in the bigger design. As you walk deeper into awakening, Your perception of time, success, and destiny transforms. You no longer chase validation from the world because you realize your assignment comes from a higher source. You begin to move with divine timing, understanding that what's meant for you will never require force. Your purpose aligns effortlessly with who you are when you let go of what you are not. The universe starts responding to your authenticity, doors open not because of effort but because of alignment. Divine clarity becomes your compass, leading you toward people, places, and opportunities that reflect your growth. You start trusting your intuition more than external advice because it has proven to be the voice of divine truth within you. In this awakening, even silence becomes sacred. You learn to listen more than you speak, to feel more than you analyze, and to trust more than you fear. Divine purpose thrives in stillness because that's where the whispers of guidance are clearest. You begin to realize that clarity isn't loud, it's peaceful. It doesn't rush, it reassures. It doesn't demand, it directs. The deeper your connection with the divine, the more effortlessly your path unfolds, and the more your life becomes a reflection of divine order. The awakening of divine clarity and purpose transforms your entire existence from confusion into conviction, from wandering into walking with knowing, from questioning your place in the world to realizing that you were never lost, only being prepared for your true alignment. The hidden meaning behind delays, pain, and isolation often reveals itself only when a chosen one has reached a place of deep introspection. What feels like punishment in the moment is often preparation for something greater. Every delay that frustrates you, every closed door that leaves you questioning your worth, carries a coded message from the divine not yet. These moments of pause are divine intervals designed to protect your destiny from premature exposure. The universe does not delay what belongs to you, it aligns you to become capable of holding it. When things don't move at the speed you desire, it's not because you're being overlooked but because you are being fortified. Your energy, your vision, and your heart are being refined in silence so that when your time comes, you won't collapse under the weight of your purpose. Pain, though unbearable at times, becomes the greatest teacher on the path of the chosen ones. It strips away illusions, dismantles pride, and burns away everything that's not aligned with truth. Pain forces you to confront yourself, your fears, attachments, and unresolved emotions. It humbles the soul, teaching empathy and compassion that can't be learned through ease. Those who carry divine assignments often carry deep emotional wounds because only those who've been broken can truly understand the art of healing. Your pain is not proof of divine neglect, it's evidence of divine trust. You were chosen to endure what others couldn't, not because you deserved suffering, but because you were strong enough to transform it into wisdom. Isolation is the secret chamber where the divine reshapes you. It feels lonely, even cruel, to be separated from people you love or from the environments that once defined you, but this solitude is sacred. The universe removes distractions to help you hear the voice of your soul without interference. In isolation, you face silence, and in that silence, you find revelation. You begin to understand that not everyone can go where you're going, not everyone is meant to witness your transformation. Some connections must end so that divine ones can begin. Isolation trains you to depend on divine presence rather than human validation. It teaches self-reliance rooted not in pride but in faith. You start realizing that you were never truly alone, you were being held, guided, and refined in the hidden place. The delays you once resented begin to make sense as you grow in awareness. You start seeing how the divine timing was always protecting you from chaos. You remember the opportunities you thought you lost, only to realize they would have destroyed your peace or compromised your integrity. Every rejection, every no, every redirection was secretly a blessing. The universe was saying, I'm saving you for something higher. Divine delays build spiritual endurance, they teach you patience, humility, and the ability to trust unseen forces. When you finally receive what was meant for you, it comes with stability, clarity, and divine alignment. The waiting seasons aren't wasted, they are sacred chapters of becoming. Pain, too, begins to reveal its divine architecture. You notice how heartbreak deepened your empathy, How betrayal sharpened your discernment, how loss taught you gratitude, and how suffering expanded your capacity to love. Pain breaks you open, but it also births a new version of you that is wiser, softer, and more powerful. The chosen ones are shaped in the fire, they are purified through storms so that their light can withstand darkness. The pain you carried becomes the bridge through which others will find healing. It becomes your ministry, your message, your proof that broken things can still be made divine. Isolation, while painful, creates the soil where destiny grows roots. It's in the absence of noise that clarity blooms. You start recognizing that solitude was never emptiness, it was incubation. You were being hidden for your protection, because premature exposure would have drained your energy before your purpose matured. While others celebrated in public, you were being rebuilt in private. The divine often hides its greatest treasures until they are fully formed. You learn to embrace your hidden seasons, understanding that those who are called to light must first learn to master darkness. The longer you stay in the secret place, the stronger your foundation becomes. The hidden meaning in these experiences lies in transformation. Delays teach surrender, pain teaches empathy, and isolation teaches self-mastery. Together, they strip you of illusions so that you can carry divine truth without corruption. You start to see that nothing was wasted. The heartbreak, the loneliness, the waiting, all of it was coded training for your divine assignment. The universe was shaping your character while the world overlooked your process. You realize that what you thought was punishment was actually protection, what you saw as loss was redirection, what felt like abandonment was divine intimacy. The Creator uses stillness and suffering to awaken divine strength that cannot be shaken by circumstances. The chosen ones must often walk this road alone because their path is customized by destiny. The isolation separates you from conformity, the pain breaks your attachment to comfort, and the delay teaches you trust. When others move ahead, you stay still, not out of weakness but because your timing is divine. You begin to understand that divine timing is not about speed, it's about readiness. The universe waits for you to evolve into the version of yourself that can sustain what you prayed for. Everything you desire already exists, the delay ensures that when it reaches you, you won't lose it. The hidden meaning of your trials becomes clearer as your perspective expands. You start noticing how every painful moment was setting you up for something greater. The people who left created space for those who truly align with your spirit. The seasons of loneliness taught you to value connection. The setbacks strengthened your faith to stand firm in uncertainty. Every experience, no matter how dark, was weaving divine order into your destiny. You were never being punished, you were being positioned. Even the moments when you felt forgotten were orchestrated to deepen your faith. When everything stopped moving, when prayers seemed unanswered, when doors stayed closed, it wasn't silence, it was strategy. The divine was shifting unseen circumstances, aligning energies, and testing your ability to trust without evidence. In that darkness, your spiritual sight developed. You learned to see with faith, not with eyes. You learned to depend on divine presence instead of human promises. That is the hidden beauty behind delays, pain, and isolation. They strip away everything temporary so that only truth remains. Through them, the chosen ones evolve into vessels of wisdom, resilience, and light that the world desperately needs. The moment of revelation, when everything finally makes sense, arrives like dawn after a long, endless night. It doesn't come with noise or grand announcement but with a quiet knowing that settles deep in the soul. For the chosen ones, this is the point when all the confusion, pain, and unanswered prayers begin to align into divine logic. Every delay, every heartbreak, every isolated season that once felt unbearable suddenly connects into a perfect pattern of purpose. The fog begins to lift, and what once seemed like chaos reveals itself as divine choreography. You start to understand why certain people left, why certain doors closed, and why certain dreams had to wait. The pain that once broke you now makes sense because it was never meant to destroy you, it was meant to awaken you. This revelation feels like remembering something you've always known but forgot. You realize that every experience was necessary, even the ones that made no sense at the time. The moments when you questioned your worth were teaching you how to recognize your value. The betrayals that shattered your trust were showing you how to discern real intentions. The loneliness that once felt cruel was guiding you back to your own power. You see now that you were never being punished, you were being positioned. The divine was aligning your circumstances with your soul's mission, even when you couldn't see it. You understand now that divine timing was never about delay but about readiness. Your spirit needed to evolve before your blessings could arrive. When this clarity arrives, it feels like you've been living in a dark room and someone finally turns on the light. Suddenly, everything that once hurt begins to feel sacred. You no longer resent your past because it sculpted the strength you carry now. You no longer question why you had to walk alone because that solitude taught you how to walk in purpose. You no longer doubt your path because you finally see that every step, even the painful ones, was guided by unseen hands. What once felt like loss now feels like liberation. You begin to thank the very experiences that once broke you because they became the bridge to your transformation. This moment of revelation changes how you see the world. You begin to perceive divine patterns in everything, in nature, in people, in timing, in silence. You realize the universe was never against you, it was always working for you, even when it looked like it was falling apart. The things that didn't work out were actually saving you. The relationships that ended were clearing space for divine connections. The jobs, opportunities, or dreams that seemed lost were simply not aligned with your higher path. Now you see how all those redirections were divine corrections. You no longer need to force things, chase people, or beg for validation because you finally understand that what is meant for you will find you when you are ready for it. Revelation brings peace where there was once turmoil. It brings gratitude where there was once regret. You begin to forgive not because others deserve it, but because you finally see the purpose behind their role in your story. Every person who hurt you was an instrument in your awakening. Every challenge was a mirror showing you who you really are. The pain was the teacher, the delay was the test, and the revelation is the reward. This is when your heart shifts from bitterness to understanding, from frustration to surrender. You stop fighting the process and start trusting the divine flow of your journey. You begin to walk with confidence, not because life has become easy, but because you finally see it clearly. In this moment of awakening, you also become aware of your true identity as a vessel of light. You recognize that your trials gave you the wisdom needed to guide others. The clarity you've received isn't just for you, it's meant to be shared. Your voice becomes healing to those still trapped in confusion. Your story becomes evidence that divine timing is real, that purpose can rise from pain, and that faith always wins over fear. You start to live differently with intention, humility, and peace. The need to control fades because you trust the divine order that governs your life. You no longer question why things happen, you simply observe, learn, and flow. The moment everything makes sense is not the end of your journey, it's the beginning of a new chapter. It's the transition from survival to purpose, from seeking meaning to embodying it. You become the calm in chaos because you now understand that chaos is only creation in motion. You stop seeking signs because you've become one. You start seeing that even now, the divine continues to weave your story with precision and grace. The same force that guided you through darkness will continue to lead you through light. The deeper your awareness grows, the more you realize that your path was never random, it was designed with love, intention, and divine intelligence. As this revelation unfolds, a deep gratitude fills your heart. You no longer wish for your old life back because the person you were back then could never carry the purpose you hold now. You begin to bless the detours, the rejections, the silences, and even the heartbreaks because they brought you here to this place of understanding, strength, and inner peace. You understand that everything that happened, both good and painful, worked together for your awakening. The pain was your initiation, the silence was your classroom, and the revelation is your graduation. You no longer seek outside answers because you realize the truth has always been within you. In this final stage, the chosen ones embody serenity. They no longer fear the unknown because they have walked through darkness and found the divine waiting there. They no longer seek approval because they know who they are and why they're here. The moment of revelation teaches that nothing was ever wasted, not a tear, not a prayer, not a moment of waiting. Every fragment of your journey was divinely orchestrated to bring you into alignment with your true self. You now walk with quiet confidence, guided by faith instead of fear, clarity instead of confusion, and purpose instead of pain. Everything finally makes sense because you have become one with divine timing, divine truth, and divine peace.